Welcome to the Broski Doodles podcast, the best podcast in all the lands, in all of the lands, in all the seas, the seven seas, the Adriatic Sea, which is owned by my cousin Adrian, who's here with us, of course.
Of course.
You got your boy DJ BJ.
I do this as charity.
It's
Giving back
charity.
to the community.
It's charity work, giving back to little kiddos, making sure that they get raised correctly. You know, us in the Daily Wire, we're making sure. The Daily Wire, a little slacking on the movie quality, but the spirit is in the right place.
I only have $100 million. I am in debt. Need more money. Need more money to produce good content.
Today we got our little sports gear. We're trying to represent a little bit because today we're gonna talk about a movie which is about sports. And I know people are gonna say, okay, so let me get this straight, Kiko. Every movie that you're gonna fucking be reviewing is your top 10? No, only the 10 that I say are top 10. And included in there is Remember the Titans. I saw this movie.
Remember that.
In school. They back in the day, for people that are old enough, they would bring a little cart in with an old school TV, the one with a batty ass in the back. They would bring in maybe a VHS, DVD, maybe the combo one that had both. And they would put Remember the Titans for us to fucking know what happened with the race, with segregation. And this movie is by Disney. So think about what Disney is doing today in 2022 and what they were doing in the 2000 with this movie, Remember the Titans. I'll stop talking because I want to get you guys' thoughts. But I have so much to say about this beautiful movie, Remember the Titans.
Well, what do you mean by what Disney is doing?
Like making shitty ass woke movies.
Because maybe this movie was shitty and woke for the people of that time. It's like, well, inclusion. Making a movie about coming together and playing foosball. Mixing the whites and the blacks in a movie. God damn it, Disney. Why are you pushing boundaries all the time?
I'm not racist, but this just ain't right.
It's preposterous.
I mean, it is funny to think that could have been the case. But I did feel that the tone the movie took to talk about race and how generations come to grips with accepting other people, it had a tone that was a lot more digestible, that was a lot milder to offer to the whole world. Because I felt like it provided the right message to people like us and most of us that are not racist. But it also allowed you to see the nuance that happened, like with the girlfriend, right? Remember when she first went into the school and the segregation's happening, but the kids already been to camp, so they kind of already became cool with each other. She didn't want to give the hand to the black friend, right? She's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this. And then later in the movie, on the guy's friend who sort of didn't change his mind, right? The girlfriend was like, oh, I'm getting around to it. Like, I get it now. And like that type of thought today would seem like, man, what a racist piece of shit. What do you mean you're getting it? But the movie
takes me longer than you, I guess.
Yeah. But the movie is honest in telling you the nuance. Like, how the fuck you think this shit happened back in the 60s? It wasn't that all of a sudden people just liked each other. There was a transition period where you were like, same with like the LGBT community, you know? There was a time where people were like, well, I mean, I don't hate them, but I just don't want to be around them. And then little by little, they were like, well, I mean, they can be around. I just don't want to talk to them. And then later on, it's like, well, I guess I could be friends with them. And then, you know, the next thing, you're sucking their dick and you were like, whoa.
Whoa, hey.
What happened here? It's culture. It's culture moving forward.
Am I an ally now? Is that what?
Next thing you know, you're getting fucking... you're getting run a train on by Andy and his boys, and you're like, "What's happening here? What's happening here? I thought I hated you guys." So, I mean,
Strange.
did you guys feel that in the movie though? The fact that it wasn't like it gray, black or white. No, like there's this gray area, and some people at the beginning were like, I'm not sure about this integration, and then little by little, the transition happened. And I think it's important to show that that is part of the process, like because in today's world, if we want to battle the shit that we don't agree on, we gotta understand that we gotta first come like to a middle point, and then little by little make each other understand the thing.
But even though there were some characters that were able to transition, there were still some that were stuck in their ways and wouldn't even budge, like wouldn't even consider the idea of interacting with a person of the opposite race,
Yeah.
or with
Yeah.
like the other town that came in and they bought off the referees, that one guy from the team that just wouldn't. Do you think he eventually like joined the KKK? I like to believe that in my head that he did it.
Yeah, I mean, this is one thing the movie leaves unconclusive is that the main character, right, the white guy's friend that he kicked off the team because he was a piece of shit, it almost ends up like, oh, okay, so he becomes the leader of the KKK because
we need a sequel.
Yeah, we need to see, because there's no like conclusion. He doesn't even come off at the end like, oh, I get it now, guys. No.
No, he's just off.
That's it. Forget the Titans. Remember the Whiteys.
that's the next one. The spin-off is Forget the Titans.
Forget the Titans.
Even though this is a very common thing for Denzel Washington, didn't you love his little character in this movie specifically? Like his heart, like, oh yeah, boy. Yeah. It was so fucking gangster the way, like, because he made me feel like, that hard love, that is not easy, that is harsh love, it's tough love, But maybe not.
He's definitely a master at that, of like giving off this tough guy persona. Like you aren't given anything. You have to earn it through your hard work and dedication to the craft. In this case, it's football.
Yeah, and he comes off as a piece of shit, and then his assistant coach, the white guy that he brought on the team, that was like telling him like, you're going too hard on these kids. Like they're gonna break and they're gonna be worthless if you keep talking to them like that. He's like, no, you gotta understand that the world is not out, in their favor. They gotta be tough, blah, blah, blah. And then like he kind of schools him too. And like all the messages in the movie were great. All the characters that were in the movie all played their part. Like the big fat dude, him being cool with the black guys from the beginning, showing you like there's not, everybody wasn't a piece of shit racist. Like there was people that just didn't care. It's like, I'm gonna sit with you because I think you guys are cool. And it was important to show that.
Ethan Suplee, that's the fattest he ever was.
I mean, I want to interject there. I don't know if this is weird, but I feel like fat people, to a certain extent, back in those times or back in the past, used to be made fun of a lot. So they kind of found solace in the black people because of the fact that the black people were being made fun of or targeted more so than people that were fat at the time. So they're like, oh, at least it's not me that they're going after. Now it's you guys. And like you kind of like related in the struggle of, they're making fun of me. They're making fun of you too. Let's be friends, kind of scenario.
Do you think adding to that, the fact that they share in common, for example, fried chicken?
Exactly. And they also like prefer flavor in their food versus not, like.
Right. I mean that is something to think about.
You had Ryan Gosling too, who liked to sing.
Yeah, but
I'll jam with you guys.
He was country though. But yeah, he was country, but he's like, I ain't racist.
He was a little racist. A little, but he was most forgiving of the racists.
Yeah. He was like, he came around to it. He's like, oh, no, I get it.
And then there was Sunshine, who's like, I don't give a fuck. I fuck dudes, I fuck blacks, I fuck whites. I don't care.
Yeah.
Fucking somebody.
Sunshine was so good.
Was he gay?
They never say it.
It never says it. It never says it in the movie. But once again, another marginalized group. If he was, like all the marginalized groups coming together to go against people who thought they were better than them,
Bro, there were so many beautiful scenes. Like, they start playing, and in football, there were things that I didn't understand completely, but I sort of, like the white guy's friend that was a piece of shit. He was not guarding the black player, and that's why that guy was getting fucked all the time, right? And eventually he told the coach, like, yeah, I'm gonna kick him out because he's not, defending. And there's this part where like everything starts turning, because pretty much this is crazy, right? Like the white guy has to tell other white guys what's up, and the black guys need to tell other black guys what's up, so that they both feel that none of them have preference. And the most beautiful part of that was, no, you guys are gonna be the team of defense and the offense, no matter your colors. And that moment when the two main characters, the white and the black guy, were like, left side, strong side, left, I fucking start bawling, crying right there. Because right before that, there's a little scuffle where the white piece of shit guy doesn't cover. And the captain that's supposed to be his buddy is like, what the fuck are you doing? If you don't cover, I swear to God, I'm gonna fucking wipe the floor with you. And that let everybody know, like, oh, if he's telling this to his boy, then I respect him because he's not protecting him. And then you can see Denzel Washington and the other coaches like, oh no, wait, let him solve this, because they were seeing what was happening. They were becoming tribal, but now based on their position, right? Offense or defense. And that's the beautiful thing about sports, that it allows you to have camaraderie and bond over something other than your gender, your sex, your race, whatever. And when they were like, left side, strong side, left side, that's the turning point when now they integrate it. And they're like, I don't give a fuck, whatever you are,
That whole camp was a very surgical and very intelligent move by Denzel Washington. I felt like at a point he was getting them to suffer through doing all the reps and all the stuff and lack of sleep so that they get to a point where they're like, dude, I don't even care if you're an alien. I just want this shit to be done, so let's work it out. And he did that really well, and I think he got them at their weakest point and then took them to the cemetery and talked about the Battle of Gettysburg. I think that was the battle that he was referencing. And I think, to me, that was the most impactful scene in the movie. It's like, people died on this battlefield because of the stupidity that we're arguing here. They left their mothers and their kids behind because they couldn't get past this. You guys are brothers. And then they all looked at each other and they're like, shit.
Yeah, he tells them, you guys don't have to like each other, but you will respect each other. Ah, man, that whole movie has me like fucking just filled with emotion. It hits you in the feels. It's so powerful. The whole movie, like, it's one of my favorite. I swear to God, when I have my kids, this is a movie for them to watch so they can know, not only the fucked up parts, but how societies can heal and be better. Like when the main guy, his friend, right, the other one that's the main guy too, the black guy, goes to visit him in his suburbs, and the cops stop, and he's like, oh, fuck. And then instead, the guy's just like, hey, good game last night. Great defense. You start feeling this like, oh, it's changing. The ball is rolling. It's such a beautiful transition that you start seeing. And I think that in today's movies, they try to make racism and, discrimination and all these things. They exaggerate it in a way where it's almost like what are you trying to do here? And in this movie, it comes off so organic that it works. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, well, I think it's a different type of movie because I'm picturing what you're saying, like a 12 Years a Slave type of movie where it just shows like the the master whipping the slave and it being very grotesque uh, and very the white man is the
well,
devil.
no, I wouldn't compare. I wasn't trying to compare to a movie like that. I can't think of one like that that I can say would compare. But like just in today's world, if they were to make a movie like Remember the Titans, they would press a lot more in making the white people be pieces of shit. And in the Disney movie of Remember the Titans, they make it look like, yeah, there are some pieces of shit, but most of them are just people that are in a time where things were a certain way and little by little they evolved. And I think that's a more honest depiction of what really happened than the narrative of, yeah, all these white people are pieces of shit evil, you know?
There's one movie that I think we should watch that talks about this thing, and it's called The Best of Enemies with Sam Rockwell.
Hmm.
It's a story. It's a true story about a black woman and a white KKK leader in I think North Carolina who become friends. And well, what I'm reading on Google says they change history in the process.
I think
They
that's
like got
a,
together about the desegregation of schools and in that community.
wasn't that a Chappelle's kid?
This movie?
A Dave Chappelle's kid, Chappelle show. No, I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, pass it on and we'll talk about it.
Man, there was a couple of holes in this movie, like
Like,
some funny scenes that I'm just like, okay, whatever. You just like suspend belief on it. Like when in the football game, I think it was like the second to last one, when all of a sudden they get their shit together and they start tackling the other team, and then the other team goes flying and those flips. It's like so exaggerated. They're like, like fly like 20 yards.
is that the one where Sunshine like jukes him?
Yeah. He jukes him, puts him on his ass, like, okay,
Yeah.
sure, Bob.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
A lot of these sports movies have this turning point where like things change, and I mean that does happen in sports, and those are the magical moments in sports. But in real life, they would have thought like, oh yeah, let's get him, and then boom, they would have gotten destroyed again.
Yeah, they would have broken Sunshine's legs in real life.
In real life, Sunshine's the paraplegic. He doesn't. He doesn't win the national.
I call it the Space Jam halftime moment when they get Michael Jordan sweat.
Yeah, right. And it just everything changes. Like another dumb scene. Well, it's not dumb, but I think they could have addressed his death better or his injury better when they win the game and he's in his car, the white
Oh my
defensive
god.
player,
Uh-huh.
and he just floors it. He's like, yeah, and then just rams into another car
Without
like,
even looking.
like, who the fuck does that? Could you at least make it a real accident?
And did you read like his like after like what happened to him?
Yeah, he died of cancer, no? Oh no, he got.
No, he died in another car accident.
I guess
it was ironic.
maybe they weren't exaggerating.
Like,
Yeah, you never look.
It was ironic that he
was his
survived.
thing.
Yeah, and then he died in another car accident as well.
It's also important to mention that in the movie, this takes place like in the 60s, right?
Late 60s, right?
Late
I think so.
60s. And this was one of those like regions, counties in the South that were very, into it, So this was one of like the latest places to become unsegregated, right? So like the rest of the country pretty much, especially like the northern states, they were, cool with it. Do you guys feel like I don't know what you can compare to like that first day where they all unite? I don't know what you guys do. You guys, do you think that would be exciting? Do you think that if you were back then, would it be an exciting thing? Like, oh, let's meet new people. Would you be scared? Would you be nervous? Would you be?
Hmm.
Maybe I'm putting you in a bad spot. Like, well, Kiko, what do you want us to answer?
Well, being a Latino and being half Colombian, half Dominican, I think I would be in one of those segregated class. This is wouldn't I? Because part of my ancestry is black.
They wouldn't know what to do with you.
On the way down.
maybe they started integration because of people like me, like well, they had like where do we put this guy? We can't put him with the whites. We can't put him with the blacks. Where do we put him?
Yeah, I think once they started having little fuckers like us, they were like, yeah, we need to figure out something because these fuckers are sneaking up on us. This guy looks like white Sicilian, and this other one looks like, yeah, these guys might be white, but they aren't white. They aren't purebreds.
And just to clarify, this takes place actually in 1971 in Virginia, which isn't that far south. But the whole thing was that they closed down there was two high schools, one black and one white, and they closed down the black high school, and they forced the integration of the black and white people into the other high school.
Okay, but it is true that in many other states in the United States, they didn't have places like this where they had a white school and a black school.
There were many other places that didn't have it, just like there were many other places that still had it after this. So this is one of the stories of how integration affected an entire community of people through the use of sports, in this case, football.
One movie that is very similar in effect is called Invictus, which we should review at one time. It's with Matt Damon and Morgan Freeman.
Just once?
Well, once for the podcast at least.
You're like, review it one time. All right, just one time.
It's like the story of Nelson Mandela and how he came to power in South Africa and ended apartheid, which was, legal discrimination and segregation. And the beautiful thing is they use rugby, the sport, to bring the country together. And the beautiful thing about sports is that it's a meritocracy, right? It doesn't matter what color you are, like where you're from. We're all with the same rules. It's a fair game, and only the best wins. When Jackie Robinson became the first black player, I always loved this anecdote. It wasn't because the owner just became very woke. It's because they wanted to beat the Yankees, and this guy was really good. So they're like, "Fuck it, I don't care. Let's buy him. I might be racist, but we need to win."
But it's mine now, boy.
So.
I want to talk about this topic because they're saying that the NFL is racist in their hiring policies. But I think this, like things like this movie and things like you just said, would make that not. I don't think the NFL would be racist because at the end of the day, you're going to put the person in charge who's going to win you the most games because that's going to bring in the most money.
That's what I think. Now, I do like to leave open the fact that there are things that I don't know, and it could be true that there are some deeper webs underneath that kind of keep like a network of white coaches. I don't know. I mean, that those things could happen. But in theory, if you want to be the best, you can't care about the color of somebody because you're gonna be fucked. You're not gonna win.
But then it comes to the issue of it doesn't necessarily matter who's the best because we're talking about who owns these teams, and the owners of these teams, who do they want running their teams? Because at the end of the day, they're the ones paying the salary of these people. They're the ones that are paying for all of these services.
What do you mean these people, John? Well,
When I say
would
these
they
people,
be racist to their players too? Then would they want an all-white team from the top down?
well, if we go, oh my god, you're making me go into this whole. I mean,
Would you prefer if the team was all white?
Historically speaking, have they performed better?
when it comes to the team doesn't necessarily matter what color makeup it could be, you know, right? Theoretically,
I mean, it kind of does. I do prefer black if I want to win.
depending on the position, depending on the experience, but depending on if
Unless
like
we're doing curling.
Oh, you're saying in sports in general?
Yeah.
I was limiting it to football, but if you want to say sports in general, okay.
I mean, yeah, you have all types of races that are good in football as well, but football and basketball is dominated by the black community, right?
I mean, it also depends on where you go, because like some of the northern teams, because of the cold, because of the area, are predominantly white players.
Well, you know what? I'm talking a lot of shit here. I actually don't know I actually don't know the makeup of the NFL teams, but
I don't know either.
But I do think just by experience, in general, I feel like the black community performs better in sports average. I'm not saying you don't have some guys in Russia that are fucking insane and all that.
It does depend on the sport too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could track it back to the history of the sport and where the sport originated and all that, and who predominantly lived there.
Yeah.
It's like I don't think there's that many black people that play hockey.
But the guy that plays.
But they're
if he made it,
they're growing.
No, they do. They do.
I have seen a couple.
No, they are the ones that play, and I'm saying
when they get there,
it's over. It's over.
Yeah, I know there's black players.
no, but what I'm saying is they're normal. Usually they're nasty. They're nasty.
Because yeah, like Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, like Jackie Robinson. I wanted to, while we're on this topic, the whole reason why Denzel Washington got the job was because they were practicing affirmative action. And right, because they said like, oh, the county or whatever forces us to have a black and a white coach or something like that. And they even, and I like the fact that they address it. Like Denzel Washington even says, look, I don't like this. I don't like this, like having to be put here for a quota.
Right.
Which in the movie turns out that they kind of do it so that he could fuck up and they can kick him out again. But I felt a little dilemma because normally I'm against affirmative action, right? Because any quota I think is bad. It's all about the meritocracy. But in these times, do you think it might be justified to have some sort of affirmative action because of how segregated and racist it was, that you kind of need a little push at the beginning?
I feel like they wouldn't have found out that their ability equals or surpasses them if not for it being forced on them, because they would have never given them the opportunity otherwise. They would have always preferred their own race versus this new race, and they would always been pushed aside, you know?
And do you think that just like today, there are some people that are woke and they say some shit like, we need to let the trans play sports against women because that's the fair thing to do. And we say, that doesn't make sense. That's fucking stupid. Do you think back then that would be a comparison? Like the lady that says, no, we need to force a black coach in the school so that it could be equal. And then there will be other people like us with a podcast in 1971. And they'll be like, oh, so you want to force the coach on us? Not because he's good, but just because of the color of his skin. But I guess what I'm trying to get to is, do you think we need when we criticize the wokeness, yes, it's bad when it's extreme, but do you think those extreme pushes kind of get some of the bad things moving forward? And I'm here being controversial.
I don't know, man.
I mean, can you really transfer that into race though? Like, so then should we have like a white league and a black league? Is that what you're saying? Like, based on your race?
No, what I'm saying is that could it be the case that for things that we feel is like, oh no, you've gone too far on the wokeness, sometimes it's needed. Like, you kind of need somebody to be on the other extreme pushing, and then you do a correction. You're like, hey, no, wait. We'll give them the bathrooms and they can change their sex, but they cannot compete against my daughter. Okay, cool. So they pull, and then we like bring it back a little, like, oh no, wait. If we didn't have that crazy person on the other side pulling hard as fuck, then we would never even think about fucking putting bathrooms. For example, I mean, I'm just trying to like be the devil's advocating.
I don't know, man, because in the case of sports, it's difficult because it's not just color of the skin; it's a lot of physical attributes that we've talked about in the past that makes it unfair.
Yeah, but then we go into this whole thing about he would prefer to have an all-black team in the NFL versus an all-white. There not physical attributes that a black person have? Or
what about you? Are you saying that I want that?
That's what you said. I mean, I'm going back on what you said.
Yeah, it was a joke. You don't have to.
If you want to win,
you don't have to Anderson Cooper my ass here. I was kidding. I would obviously do an analysis for the meritocracy. No, but
you're saying that predominantly the blacks would win based on meritocracy. So if the trans swimmers win based on meritocracy?
No, because if you put them against other men, then they're gonna get rocked.
Right. And
but
if
they're
it's
not
a black man,
they're women.
Well, I mean
that's that's like allowing steroids. It's like, can I play against this jacked player who says he's 12 years old, but he's 35?
Are we the 2022 racists now? Is that what this is?
Are we the ones that back then were saying, come on, we need to keep this league divided? Now, I wanted to bring a topic. We'll find out when we're 70.
Wait, so this is a movie review, right? This is
No, it's a movie review. But I wanted to ask you something about this stuff. What do you guys think about like this thing, like with colleges that are like all black? Because that's kind of like going back.
It's pretty racist
to the segregation thing, right? But at the same time, I don't want to knock on them because it could be that it's like, oh, this is a way for us to like flourish our culture and like have a university that's built upon the very foundations of our own culture. So I can't knock that, but it is counter intuitive. Yeah, because you like if you do that with any other race, like an all Asian school, an all white school, that wouldn't look good.
So you're saying like, would you want an affirmative action like an all black school, like stick in at least one person, white person per semester, and then slowly increase it like one and then two?
I'll be honest with you. I think you as a private university, you should be able to like, I don't know, have a say in what is your school
mission and the goal and the values.
Yeah, like because I'm pretty sure they don't get criticized for saying like, oh, we support having a black alumni and support our culture. My problem is not that they can do it. That's cool. My question is that a good thing to do that? Because I would never think of like going to a school or being part of a club of the Latinos and shit. I'm like, yo, that's fucking stupid. And I don't think that would be beneficial to me. Like, I think what's benefited me is being able to learn and be influenced by all types of cultures.
Wasn't that what they say in the workplace, that they have to meet a quota of diversities so you can get a taste of people from different places? It's not the most effective thing to do in some cases, but
I don't know if I really have an argument here or if I just want to be part of that school with Nick Cannon was playing in drumline.
I mean, you can be.
I just think if you allow it there, you should allow it everywhere. Like you couldn't have an all white school if you want to. Then if you're gonna have an all black one, you should have an all white one.
But-
And
I don't know.
then I think we'll be going backwards.
But
You
you know,
can get a-
there's no
a
such thing
passport?
as an all black school. Like they're classified as historically black schools. They're not all black. It doesn't explicitly say all black schools.
Well, there is a
okay.
Vice documentary on YouTube about the one only white guy in one of these schools. So although the law doesn't say you cannot join, it seems that for one reason or the other,
And
you need to be Chet Hanks to be accepted.
are the administrators white or are they also black?
I think
Have
everyone.
one.
I mean, they have to have one for the quota, right?
I mean, obviously, I want to touch this topic with respect, and I just
No. Yeah,
No, I'm not
yeah.
saying you're not. I'm not saying you're not playing with
Oh,
respect.
sorry,
I'm
sorry.
talking for myself. I want to make sure people, but I also want to be real about it. Like, I think making like a school where like, oh, let's just do it of this ethnic group or this, I just don't see how that's like conducive to progress in 2022. But
It's weird.
I do
I think it's-
I do see where they come from, like trying to keep some sort of culture. But I think the perfect balance is for you to have your own little culture with your group, with your community, my cousins, my family. We have a little culture, but then I also go and mingle with other people's culture in a very amicable and beautiful way. So that's the way
Right.
that I like to.
Can you explain now blacksinglesmeet.com and how that's fine?
What is that specifically? Like,
That's a dating website that's just for black people. If you're not black, you're not on the site.
okay, this is my question. What if
That's
you're
not cool.
What if you're mixed?
So
Show some
like,
papers.
so like farmersonly.com, blacksonly.com, and there's no whitesonly.com.
Right?
Oh, you will see people rustle some feathers. I don't know if that's the phrase. If you feather some Russells or you rustle some feathers. This is allwhitedating.com. the number one Aryan dating site.
Since the 1970s.
Are you looking for great pure genes? Come over too.
Sounds all white to me.
And it has to be like very stereotypical white guy selling it to you.
Gosh darn it. I hate you guys.
Darn it. And you continue to be even more white as you fall. It's like, oh, darn it.
Gosh, darn it.
Oh,
You
geez,
tired of all
Louise.
diversity on Tinder? Can't seem to find a match? Come on down. Look no further at whitesinglesmeet.com.
Oh my god.
Here at trailertrashmeet.com.
Oh my god. I have to go, guys.
You've had sex with your pig before? No problem. No shame on our end.
Did you go to Tinder and have issues finding the chonga that you like? Come to chongalish.com
Oh my
for
goodness.
that big booty Latina action. Are you tired of looking for big booty Latinas? And then you find Stephanie with a fucking flat ass. Come over to chongalish.com.
White girl's not doing it for you anymore?
Yes. Regulation definition. that song is playing in the background the whole time.
Oh my god, that was boogers. Oh my god. Oh fuck. Wait up.
Oh man.
Is that mac and cheese and beans casserole getting you annoyed as fuck? Come over to bigbootyLatinas.com. Bro, this is the episode about Remember the Titans. All right.
This is still a movie review.
All right.
Well, I think you could release it as both. Well, like, chop it up.
Chop it up.
Chop it up.
Chop it up.
Chop
Chop it up.
Chop.
Chop it up. Chop it up.
Chop chop.
If that brick too far, you gotta cut it. If that brick too short, you gotta chop it up. Remember the Titans. I didn't want it to be this festive. I thought it was a more. it merited a more deep talk.
It was definitely sad. Most throughout.
Yeah, let's talk about the fucking movie, right? The sad part at the end. The guy dies.
That's it. Yeah, that hurt.
It hurt.
Wait, still recording?
No, we're still recording. Come on, dude.
Tired of those meth head girlfriends that you got?
God damn. All right, so overall, this movie was a good movie. I would give it a 9. Definitely one of Denzel Washington's best performances. But even as much as Denzel did a stunning job, without that whole supporting cast, including the white people that you have to hate, and the white people that you love because of the fact that they promote the integration, they have the struggle to relate to black people, and then they realize that it's hard for them, and they're just trying to be people, and that whole dichotomy of having them mingle together and then come together as one, that was beautiful. 9.0 for sure. Thank you for that movie, whoever made that movie.
You had not watched it before?
Oh, I had, but like when it came out in 2000, your mind was different when you saw it versus when you saw it now. I didn't cry back then when I saw it. I cried now because I felt and I understood the impact of what that was.
The music hits so hard with the scenes. The message is so pure. It's so good because it teaches you, yes, love everybody for who they are. Doesn't matter their race and all, but also this is honest depiction of how a society changes. It's not just about, like blaming people and saying, fuck you. No, it's like you need to bring people together and people will change their mind. A lot of times it's ignorance. Like the main character's mom, at the beginning, she didn't want to meet Marcus. But then,
sorry, I laughed because her counter was like, "Oh, you're talking to that black boy? We're going to church more."
And that shows you, like, yeah, she's not a piece of shit. She's not an evil person. She's a person that was ignorant, and she met the person and lost the fear, and that's how integration happens. And I think that's very important to see, an honest depiction of how that goes. I will agree with DJ BJ. I will give it a 9. It's in my top 10. I love this movie. I'm gonna show it to my kids.
Yeah, I was about to say the same. I'm gonna show it to Graham. I think he's at an age where it can make an impact on him as well. I don't know if the topic of race has been discussed in school yet. He's only in 5th grade, so I don't think so. I think they start getting into that in middle school when they go into American history. But I think this is a great movie to watch, and I hope he either sees it in school, and if he doesn't, I'll make sure that he watches it. The acting is great, the story is great, and it's a good segue into that conversation. I also give it a 9.
Damn, unanimous decision. Where can you watch this movie these days? Disney Plus, right?
Yeah.
All right, I asked that because that's where I watched it, but I forgot. So, thank you very much for watching, guys. Movie review with the crew. Leave your comments and also give us suggestions of movies or shows that you think we should watch and review. Make sure they're good. Don't give us shit. I love you.
For those of you out there, I'm keeping track of Kiko's top 10 to make sure that he doesn't have more than 10. And if he does, he has to take one of the previous 10 out.
Yeah, this is important. This is
To have
important.
a true
Kiko
10.
has the top 100.
Billboard 100. What's happening? But thanks for keeping tabs and checking me.
So far I got Wolf of Wall Street and Remember the Titans.
Okay, put in there The Big Short.
The Big Short. Okay, so that's 3 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm getting hyped. I want to watch Gladiator.
Oh fuck! Put Gladiator on that list. Gladiator's on that list.
Oof.
All right,
Dark Knight.
motherfuckers.
Dark Knight.
Anyway, yeah, we'll go into the green room. Peace.
We'll talk about the Dark Knight.